My name is Peter Brewer. I'm the Curator of Collections here at the Laboratory of Curing Research. We have both an archive and a repository. The archive is where we store all the information about our samples, so all the documentary evidence, all the field reports. The repository is where we store our actual specimens. Our repository is the only federally recognised repository in the nation, so we're by far the largest place to store wood samples for scientific analysis. In our repository we store three main types of specimens. We have sections, either full sections of trees or portions of a section of a tree. If we were collecting samples from live trees, we would typically take cores from the trees. We also have a large archaeological collection. A lot of those are from charred samples, so pieces of charcoal. So archaeological sites, if a building has been burnt, we'll find the wood in the form of charcoal. Archiving is an integral part of the scientific process. So we start out with a protocol, ideally out in the field, where we're collecting rich information about the samples we're collecting. You know, where they're collected, the location, any other sort of information that's pertinent to the research. So when you come back from the field, that digital data can then come straight into our database. We can then attach unique barcodes to identify these samples. And then when they've completed their research, they can then hand over their samples to the curation team for storage in our collection. So then all the information then comes into our central database and is available for other people to then to query and then hopefully reuse these samples in the future. In addition to the new samples that come into our collection from new research, we also have nearly 100 years worth of previous collections. None of these have previously been brought into a unified system. So a great deal of the work that the curation team does is cataloguing these existing collections and trying to pull together all the pieces of information from the sort of original field notes to any sort of publications. So there's a great deal of the time spent by the curation team is trying to deal with those legacy collections. We keep all our specimens in the repository for a number of reasons. First of all, they are scientific vouchers for the work that has been done, so we need to be able to go back to these specimens to redo analyses. Probably the more important reason is that many of these samples represent both forests and archaeological sites that no longer exist. What we find over the years that we often have new techniques come along, new sort of scientific methods for extracting yet more information from these same samples. And by storing these samples, especially these samples that come from sites that no longer exist, it's really important for the scientific process to be able to come back to these.